Insufficient Vespene gas.
Go, go, go. Let's move. Rock and roll.
Sorry about not doing Company of Heroes. I tried a villain run, and I realized I was just playing it normally, so I switched to an infantry-only run. And then I got my butt kicked on Mission 5 and realized I didn't really enjoy playing this game anymore. There's still a month-ish before my cursed April Fool's video, so I have a nice revisit of Starcraft instead. Also, I adjusted the old Patreon tiers. The old Tier 2 is now Tier 3, still $10, and the new Tier 2 is now $5. Tier 1 is still the same. Feel free to sign up, fund my stupidity. The rules are simple. No spending gas. If it doesn't cost gas, I give it a pass. To save gas, I'll skip all the no-build missions. They don't have any gas to spend. Game speed fastest, let's go! Wasteland is super difficult. Walk to Raynor, build a barracks, train 10 Marines. Mission 2 is the first one with useless geysers. After rushing to the station, I get free fire bats. No gas spent, no need for rent.
Where's my money?
While they help with the first packs of lings, Jimmy and the boys take care of the Hydras. Desperate Alliance is supposed to teach you how to defend your base, but if Warhammer has taught me anything, it's that
fear denies faith.
Also, vulture bikes don't eat gas. Very eco-friendly. Mission 5 starts off the same as usual. Garrigan mindslaps Raynor and the Antagons revolt. While I do get free factories and a free starport, I have to spend gas for a control tower and a dropship. So I take a page from Professor Grant's Wonderful Marine Adventures. After a disastrous first attempt, I land at a weak point in the Confederate defenses. Overwhelming the enemy with sheer numbers of Marines and vultures, I claim victory. NORAD 2 is the first major roadblock in this run. I gotta save Duke the Nuke. To do this, I need to bring Raynor and 2 dropships to the good general. But starports cost gas, so that way is trash. It's times like these when one must turn to ancient wisdom.
Purge the beasts!
Mayhaps I only need Raynor for the job. Nope. Oh, if only there was a gas-free way to win this mission. But Pi, that's cheating. Explain to me why it is more environmental to waste 60 minutes clearing the map than a few seconds on a keyboard. Also, even if I use the tech cheat, I'd still have to spend gas for the starport. Trump Guard is super difficult. You gotta get the spinny thing to the glowy thing without dying. Oh, if only there was a gas-free spell that makes you unkillable and lets you run to the end. Mission 8 gives me tons of free stuff. We got ghosts, wraiths, dropships, a factory, and NORAD 3. Say what you will about Alpha Squadron, but advanced hardware is very helpful for planetary invasions. Sadly, no nukes, but what we do have is AI stupidity. For whatever reason, the AI does not have siege mode. They had it last mission, so, But this makes my job easier. After luring Brown out of his bunkers, I secure the area. The orange base has even more tanks and some BCs, but a mix of bunkers and missile turrets drives them back. Afterwards, I mop up and win. Mission 9 gives me another free factory. Now the Protoss are tough, but they don't have Reavers or Storm. Nevertheless, taking the southeast base is difficult. Every toss and their mother drops in, forcing me to yet again dig in and slow push with bunkers. Thankfully, the northeast base is practically empty after sending their boys. After mopping them up, my base is destroyed and the mission ends.
Prepare to land. Hundreds will die. Thousands.
The Amber Falls is gonna be a doozy. Unlike Mission 8, the enemy has siege mode, making direct combat risky. After a disastrous attempt to drop on the cannon, I instead deploy in the center and launch a mega death bush into Meng's space. The few siege tanks are overwhelmed, and a few missile turrets neutralize the wraiths. Sadly, Duke ruins my fun with a massive siege tanks and Goliaths. With great effort, I managed to repel them by catching the tanks unsieged. After banging my head in the northeast base and getting mauled by cloaked ghosts and 3-3 BCs, I switch my approach back to the ion cannon. Instead of a grand landing, I land in a weak spot in the cannon defenses and establish a bridgehead with bunkers and turrets. Eventually, I add more barracks and deploy a large enough force of Marines to overcome the remaining defenders and finish off the cannon. Among the ruins is the second major roadblock, not because the mission's hard, but because I gotta build a hydrogen, which costs gas. However, if Dawn of War taught me anything, only the final objective counts. So I clear out the enemy, mop up the flyers, and nothing happened. Oh, I do need a hydrogen, huh? if only there was a gas-free way to win the mission. Alright, this mission's super difficult. You just take all your guys and you run to the end. I said run to the end. This is one of the worst missions for this challenge. There's only one land route to Duke's base, overlooked by siege tanks. Now, a flock of mutas would make short work of these defenses, but those cost gas, so that way is trash. Instead, I'm forced to funnel my lings and drones through the meat grinder to get a forward base up and running in the northeast. It takes several hundred boys, but eventually I get a front line secured. Unfortunately, my next roadblock is my limited income. There's around 8 siege tanks at this point, but my coffers are running dry. Initially, I try to send small packs of lings to pick off the tanks and use their splash against them. This fails because they can just make more tanks. After several hours of banging my head on Duke's base, I use the expert tactic of turtling and prepare a mega death push to blitzkrieg his base from 2 angles. With my starting mutas to back them up, we destroy his factory and most of his tanks. Afterwards, I launch a few smaller attacks and finish off the remaining defenders. Agent of the Swarm is sadly not doable. The first segment, defending the crystal, is easy with the starting units and a couple sunken colonies. However, there's no legitimate way to get my units to Raynor's command center without gas. Spires and mutas cost gas, dropper lords cost gas. Thankfully, there is in fact a way to win that isn't trash. Mission 6 is an odd one. Ordinarily, I get these convenient cliff bases for money. However, dropper lords cost gas, so that way is trash. Instead, I launch a mega death attack on the northeast outpost. The Reavers are clumped up at the start, letting me storm them with Kerrigan. After securing the base, I slowly grow a tendril of Sunkens and Spores to the main Protoss force. The Reavers are really annoying, so I bring starting Guardians, Mutas, and Hydras to help. Say what you will about the Zerg, but free air support is useful for combating an alien invasion. After heavy casualties, I wipe out Tassidar's force, but sadly, 'tis all for naught. Despite my efforts, there's no way to bring Kerrigan to the island without gas. Culling starts with some free mutas and hydras. After clearing the initial Zerg bases, I launch a push to the eastern base. The ultras are tough, but they old ultras, so no splash damage. I spend the next hour pushing with Sunkens and Spores to the main base. The Guardians are annoying, but suffer from a distinct lack of intelligence. To destroy the cliff base, I build a ring of Sunkens, using the mutas to give vision. With the anti-air gone, the mutas finish them off. This mostly works until the final Spore colony, which sadly is too much for my mutas and out of reach for my other units. Out of curiosity, I tested out the same fight with my starting mutas, then mutas that were fully upgraded just to see how they'd fare. Hey, more free units. Mission 8 puts me in a tough spot. There's more Reavers and all available expansions are occupied with scouts. To clear them, I send Kerrigan with storms. Afterwards, I siege the eastern base from the cliffs, luring the Reavers out of position. Another counter I discovered was slowly feeding lings to them to deplete the scarab count and then surrounding them. The northwest base is far easier as it lacks Reavers. For the final base, I slow push on the high and low ground. The High Templar and Reavers are strong but suffer from the unique adaptation of being dumb. Once they fall, I bring my free Ultras and Hydras to mop up. Higher time. There's even more Reavers in this mission with even more Scarabs, so that means only one thing.
Pain.
Attacking Teal's base is bloody, but the old feed 'em lings, then feed 'em death is a decent countermeasure. While I could push directly to the crystal, that would bring Orange into the fight, and I need to make sure I can extract the drone safely without getting blown up. After fortifying the front, I start pushing towards Yellow's bases, triggering their own counterattack. Though Reavers and High Templar can be overrun, the amount of Archons and Carriers prevents further breakthroughs. So I switch my focus back to the Gadaran crystal. After rushing a drone in, I get 10 minutes to repel Orange's counterattack, reach the crystal, and fortify the area. Sadly, I take too much time and a Reaver snipes the drone, but after a couple failed attempts, one of my workers gets the crystal and runs back home, ending the mission. Mission 10 should be straightforward. Seize the mineral fields, get attacked by carriers, bang my head against the Reavers for a bit, and get a forward base ready. Protoss are fully upgraded at this point, so I pull the old storm with lings, spam with colonies. The Reavers are pesky, but they fall alongside the temple, and the drone with the crystal doesn't spawn.
Where's the drone? There's supposed to be a grot with a stone!
Well, you know the drill. I even checked in the editor afterwards. The drone with the crystal is supposed to spawn after you kill the temple. I don't know, I guess it's bugged. Anywho, let's not waste any more energy on this one. Let's just call it a win. I start with some free dragoons, quite the boons. After reaching Phoenix, I get a pack of zealots and storm the hive. Free dragoons are crucial for enemy flyers, while the boys chop up the rest. Mission 2 starts with more free dragoons. Say what you will about the Conclave, but universal healthcare is incredibly beneficial for stopping alien invasions. After chilling for 15 minutes, Phoenix shows up with free Reavers. Thankfully, they only need minerals to build scarabs. Very environmental. In the end, my combined forces smash through the Zerg defenses and slay the Cerebrate. Mission 3 ups the ante by adding free scouts. Say what you will about the Conclave, but free air support is incredibly beneficial for stopping alien invasions. There's 2 Zerg bases to tackle. One's anti-ground, one's anti-air. Zealots can't fly, so I go to the anti-air base. With free scouts and dragoons to deal with mutas, my zealot mob slices through the meager hydras blocking the way in. Afterwards, I set up a blockade at the entrance to the ground base and send a couple waves to end the mission. Mission 4 is super difficult. I start with a squad of Zealots, Dragoons, and a High Templar. After storming my foes, I take a page from Professor Grant's wonderful Zealot adventure, pausing the game before meeting Tassadar. After unpausing, I can move my units during the cutscene, letting me run the heroes to the end before the Zerg spawn in. Mission 5 is super difficult. I get a free shuttle and a handful of zealots alongside Tassadar. With the expert tactic of faking shuttles, I drop Tassadar and the boys near the beacon and run like hell. Homeland is really super difficult, I promise you. After an epic standoff, I bravely run home. Afterwards, I sneak Zeratul and the boys through a super secret door and blow up the government, ending the mission. Okay, this one's actually a challenge. Mission 8 brings back Reavers and High Templar and adds Arbiters to the mix. I'm under a bit of a time limit since every expansion is under enemy control. Thankfully, I at least get a free carrier and the Hyperion for air support. Say what you will about those pesky humans, but a Yamato cannon is very useful for blowing up the government. To take the purple bases, I launch a big death push with my zealot mobs. Unlike Ling, zealots can actually tank a scarab shot or two, letting them easily surround enemy reavers. After securing half the map, I'm faced with a challenge of going around the cliffs to get to one of 2 ramps into the main red base. To proceed, I establish several outposts of cannons and gateways and move my zealot army to each one. Eventually, I clear out the enemy cannons blocking the stasis cell. I can't beat their carriers, but as long as I can free Tassadar, it doesn't matter. After a few more charges, my boys crack open the cell and the mission ends. Shadowhunters is gonna be a doozy. Normally, there's some bases on the cliffs for extra resources. Sadly, our free Arbiter needs gas to unlock premium recall, so there's no way to get to the high ground. Plan B is to, yet again, storm the trenches with zealots and fortify with cannons. Taking the western base is difficult with all those pesky ultras and defilers running around. However, once taken, the way to the northwest Cerebrate is open. Zeratul deals with it and a final push mops up the northeast Cerebrate, ending the mission. This is it. The final mission has plenty of minerals and plenty of enemies. Cracking the Overmind's defenses is tough, even when gas is available. My plan is to secure whatever mineral fields I can find and pincer the western Zerg with Marines and Zealots. It goes poorly, so I add bunkers and cannons to the mix. This goes less poorly. In the east, the Zerg crush my outposts. Now, with enough time and effort, I could deal with this attack, but
I'm tired.
So I go with base racing. The Zerg push all the way to my southwest base, but my remaining troops make it to the Overmind. He falls, ending the mission. So can you beat Starcraft 1 without spending gas? No, but also yes. With cheats, totally doable. Without them, Episode 1 is close to perfection at 9 out of 10 missions which can be done without gas or cheats. NORAD 2 requires starports and dropships. Episode 2 is the worst campaign at 6 out of 2 missions that can be done without gas or cheats. Among the Ruins requires a Hydra Den, Agent of the Swarm and Dark Templar require ventral sacs, and the Culling has that one spore colony I just can't reach. Episode 3 is the best. All 10 missions can be done without gas and without using cheats. In total, that means 25 out of 30 missions can be done without spending gas or using cheats. 83%. The Cursed April Fool's videos is next, then Brood War without gas. As I said, feel free to sign up for Patreon, even just Tier 1, $3 is honestly helpful, though thank you to my Tier 2s and 3s. Shoutouts to Glennis Marino, Happy Accurate, Jen Tuong, Michael Phillips, and Mike Pierce for your continued support. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and be sure to respect the environment by providing free compost with your army.